It may only be the end of February, but speculation for Halloween Horror Nights 32 at Universal Studios Florida is underway, thanks to Twitter account Horror Night Nightmares sharing their first speculation map of this season. Before we go any further in this video, I do want to call out that almost everything we discussed today is currently rumors and speculation, and nothing except for one house has been confirmed by Universal as of this point. So everything that we talk about in this video is just pure speculation, and if you've been following Halloween Horror Nights in the past, you know that these speculation maps change multiple times throughout the season. Like we mentioned, Twitter account Horror Night Nightmares is notorious for putting out these fan speculation maps every single Halloween Horror Nights season, and the first one was released just last week. Before we get into version 1 of this year's speculation map, let's talk about the only house that is currently confirmed by Universal themselves, and that is Chucky. Chucky, which is coming to both Universal Orlando's version of Halloween Horror Nights and Universal Studios Hollywood, was announced on the final night of Halloween Horror Nights 31 last year. On October 31st, Universal announced that Chucky would be coming to both coasts as a haunted house for that year's Halloween Horror Nights event. The Chucky house is going to be based on his USA sci-fi show of the same name and not necessarily the Child's Play movies. So if you haven't seen the USA sci-fi series Chucky, now would be a good time to probably watch it as you prepare for Halloween Horror Nights coming up in just a few months. Now, as we all know, Chucky was on a lot of the merchandise the last 2 years for Halloween Horror Nights, and of course they had the Good Guys Toy Box photo op that was over in Universal Studios Florida, but this is actually the first time that Chucky is returning to Halloween Horror Nights since 2018. A lot of fans have been speculating over the last year or two and had a feeling that Chucky would be appearing in this year's event just because he's been almost an unofficial icon over the last couple of years without actually even being featured in the event on either coast. So the fact that he is now coming to Orlando and Hollywood for 2023, he will most likely be the main icon of Halloween Horror Nights 32. And as we take a look at the speculation map, you will notice that there is another doll-focused house that is featured on this map, and that is in location F, which is rumored to be the Horrors of Blumhouse, Megan and Insidious. Megan was the 2022 horror sci-fi film put out by Blumhouse that features a doll named Megan built by a robotics engineer at a toy company that begins to take on a mind of its own. She's a lifelike doll that is programmed to be a child's companion and the greatest ally to a parent, but as is the case in all horror movies, things go terribly wrong, and Megan turns out to actually be quite terrifying. So Megan is rumored to be the first half of the Horrors of Blumhouse house this year, which would make her the second creepy doll that is featured in Halloween Horror Nights 32, should the rumors be true. Now, the second room of the Horrors of Blumhouse house this year is rumored to be Insidious. The first Insidious film came out in 2010, and it is a supernatural horror film that has spun multiple spin-offs, including Insidious Chapter 2, Insidious Chapter 3, Insidious The Last Key, and Insidious Fear the Dark. Now, according to the speculation map, the Megan/Insidious house is rumored to be in the exact same location that the Black Phone and Freaky House was last year, which is right over in San Francisco at what is normally the Fast and the Furious attraction. The next house that is on the speculation map, which is rumored to be where Spirits of the Coven was last year, is Universal Studios Monsters Phantom/Dracula. Now, Universal Studios Monsters Legends Collide last year was my personal favorite house of the entire year. I am a very big fan of the Universal Classic Monsters, and every year that they do this house, it is always so cool. I love to see those worlds be brought to life, and highlighting a character such as the Phantom of the Opera that we don't see a lot of in Halloween Horror Nights is going to be really cool. Now, again, Dracula, I love Dracula, one of my favorite monsters, and again, was a part of my favorite house last year. So I'm really curious to see how they do this, and I kind of hope that it's a little bit more balanced than Legends Collide was last year. Legends Collide was an incredible house, had amazing set design, and like I said, was my favorite house of the year, but it was very much focused on the Mummy, and you had a little bit of Dracula and a little bit of Wolfman sprinkled in, so I hope that this year it's almost a 50-50 balance between the Phantom and Dracula so that everyone can have as much time with their favorite monster as they possibly can. The big IP draws for last year's Halloween Horror Nights was Halloween as well as The Weekend. Now this year there are a couple of IPs. Of course we have Chucky that we talked about. We mentioned the Blumhouse house, but the one that I think is going to have a lot of people very excited, if it is true, is what is taking the place of where Halloween was last year, and that is The Last of Us. Of course, The Last of Us is a video game which has been transformed into a hit TV series on HBO, and according to the first version of the speculation map, The Last of Us should be coming to Halloween Horror Nights 32. That location is generally home to one of the bigger IPs every single year, so it's no surprise that The Last of Us would go into the place where Michael Myers was last year. Now, I think The Last of Us is a great option for Halloween Horror Nights. Last year, like I mentioned, we had The Weekend and we had Halloween, but a lot of people were saying that there wasn't a huge draw to get you to come in, like Stranger Things, for example, in the past. I do think with the recent success of the TV series of The Last of Us, how popular the video game was for many years, I do think that has the ability to bring in a lot of people who would possibly not come to Halloween Horror Nights if it didn't have that. And that is something that Universal tries to do every year with the IPs that they do bring in. Of course, you're gonna have your diehard Halloween Horror Nights fans that go every single year, multiple nights a year, no matter what, but they're also looking to attract new people to come to the event in hopes of turning them into Halloween Horror Nights regulars for years to come, and that is why I think The Last of Us would be a great house for this year. The next rumored house coming to HHN 32 is Krampus. Now, I am very excited to see, first of all, if this actually does come true, and if it does, what this house is like. They did do a Krampus Halloween Horror Nights house for HHN 26 back when it was located over in the old Shrek 4D theater, but this one specifically is listed as an original house, so it is not going to be based off of any of the Krampus films, any Krampus IP. It is going to be an original house by the Universal creative team. The Krampus house is supposed to be located where Fiesta de Chupacabras was last year, and right next door is another interesting rumored house. Now, on the speculation map, there is no name listed for the house. There is just an anchor with a rope tied to it, so it has another nautical symbol, and this was where Dead Man's Pier was last year. So will this be a sequel to that house? We don't know. I would absolutely be down for a sequel to that house. That was an example of a scare zone that they made into a house extremely well. So if this is any sort of a sequel or has any sort of a tie-in to Dead Man's Pier from last year, this could be the house of the year. So we'll keep an eye on this one as the speculation season progresses to see if this is in fact a spin-off or a sequel or something to do with Dead Man's Pier from last year, or is it just a brand new nautical themed house? And we are going to move forward to Location G, which is another original house, Lair of the Banshees. Lair of the Banshee was one of 5 scare zones that was featured during Halloween Horror Nights 26, which is the same year that Universal did the Krampus house, the IP version of the Krampus house that we mentioned just a minute ago. That same year, Lair of the Banshee was one of the scare zones featured. The scare zone was located in Central Park, and it was based on an evil forest inhabited by banshees. Every year, there's always a house that fans label the funny house. In years past, there was Beetlejuice. Last year, it was Bugs Eaten Alive. And this year, I think that the potential for a funny house lies with letter H on the map, and that is Devil Dogs, another original. Now, Devil Dogs was one of 10 movies that were featured in Halloween Horror Nights 28's Haunted House, Slaughter Cinema. Now, the plot of this movie is about a pack of werewolf bikers wreaking havoc in a biker bar. So just the thought of werewolf bikers causing mayhem. Sounds to me like this is kind of like the tongue-in-cheek house for the year, similar to what Bugs Eaten Alive was last year. Bugs Eaten Alive last year was so well done. So if they do another original house as kind of the quote-unquote funny house, I'm all for it. I don't know a whole lot about Devil Dogs just because it was like a very small snippet from Slaughter Cinema a couple of years ago. We'll be finding out more this year potentially if the rumors are true. And Lair of the Banshees and Devil Dogs are located where Bugs Eaten Alive and Descendants of Destruction were last year, so over back by Men in Black. Now the next two houses, I am very curious to see how they set up the queues for these, because this was the location of the Weekend Universal Monsters last year, and the two houses are currently unnamed. The first house, which is letter I on the map, has a guitar with a lightning bolt through it, and that can mean a number of things. That can be a rock house, it could be just a music IP in general, similar to what the Weekend was last year. Some people online have been speculating that it could be Stranger Things with the lightning bolt and the guitar signaling Eddie Munson. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, and we do have a couple of inside sources who have kind of pointed us in the direction that Stranger Things will not be back. Fans online have also speculated that the music house could be the Weekend Dawn FM to serve as a sequel to last year's After Hours Nightmare House, which was very popular. And as for that last house with the Japanese writing, I don't know exactly what that's going to be, so we'll have to stay tuned over the coming months to see what that eventually evolves into. Make sure you give the video a nice big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, as this is just the first of many speculation videos to come. We will be putting out a new video every time an updated version of the speculation map is released. Also, let us know down in the comments below, based off of this map, what are you looking forward to most, and what do you hope to see at Halloween Horror Nights 32? Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you real soon.